So welcome to another edition of Building Peace during the pandemic, and I'm really happy this week to host David McLachen-Carr here this week. David is the resident coordinator, the deputy special representative of the Secretary General, and the humanitarian coordinator in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he joins us today from Kinshasa. Let me just start, David, by asking you, how has the pandemic, how has COVID-19 affected the efforts of building peace in the DRC?
As in many parts of Africa, COVID-19 has resulted in less access for us to the provinces in which we work, and also in the implementation of our programs. There's been considerable travel restrictions, social distancing. To add to the complexity, I think, is the reality that each province has its own regulations for controlling and preventing COVID, making even cross-provincial travel more complicated than it should be. And I think the DRC, I think it's no secret to other people, but it's a country with considerable institutional fragility. It is active conflict in the east. Our fear, of course, is, and we've seen it actually in reality, that the socioeconomic impacts may worsen here, inequalities and poverty in a country that has the world's third largest humanitarian crisis per se. So it has weakened already fragile health systems, fragile social safety nets, and I think it will also, ultimately exacerbate community grievances and perhaps increase the risk of conflict and human rights violations.
For you, what has the pandemic changed in terms of your engagement strategy, your advocacy with government, or with donors? What's the difference now with this added layer of fragility? Does this mean even more focus in terms of where to work? Does it mean different partners? How has that changed the way you work as the UN?
We have started to adopt, I think, organically more of a nexus approach to our work, where we realize that peace building needs to be tied to humanitarian assistance, but also to grassroots development. And we're trying to inbuild that into the programming. It's no longer business as usual, having a peacemaking box over there, a development box, a humanitarian box. But I think in the four major provinces and regions where we work, it's become very, very clear that as we use the PBF and as we use our partners, we bring in development, humanitarian, and peacemakers at the same time to work together. And I think that's by tackling the grassroots nature of the problems, we're going to actually make some changes here. And I think that this has really, the COVID pandemic has shown the fragilities and allowed us to focus more on the task at hand, engaging communities, working with the most vulnerable, the most fragile societies, dealing with women, youth, unemployment, these kind of issues that are also very much drivers for conflict and drivers for fragility.
Are there in DRC, in the context of DRC, new opportunities that have opened up for peace building as a result of the pandemic, either at the local level, but also at the national level?
We have focused a lot on the socioeconomic aspects, supported the government to identify the parts of the economy that need support. We have advocated very, very strongly for the government to increase budgetary spending for the social safety net, particularly in health and education. We are trying to sell the theme of self-reliance, that the government is ultimately responsible for managing the crisis. We will accompany them, but we're trying to talk about, leveraging the private sector, working with unemployed youth, creating an economy that can also address the needs of COVID, face masks, disinfectants, all of these even in the security sector, to help enforce social distancing. These are the kind of things that we have tried to work with the government on its national program for social renewal and to try and bring into play, using the national skills and capacities to address the crisis. So, and as I said, we have had a particular theme of looking at the most vulnerable sectors of society and ensuring that they are given support and are also specifically targeted in the COVID response and through the PBF programming, so that they can receive the support necessary and they don't fall off the edge, so to speak, at a time of considerable stress, social stress and economic stress in the country.
Thank you so much, David, for speaking to us today, and many congratulations to you and the colleagues on the wonderful work you're doing in DRC.